This podcast was recorded on the ancient lands of the Gadigal peoples of the Eora Nation in Australia. I wish to acknowledge their rich and continuing culture, and especially pay respect to the elders, past, present and emerging, and to acknowledge and pay respect to any First Nations people from anywhere in the world who may come to hear this podcast. We hope that we may all come to walk with gentle feet, strong minds, and compassionate hearts in this global village. Hello, it's Maggie Dent here, parenting educator, author, and champion of boys and men. And this is The Good Enough Dad, a podcast where I chat with committed, caring, sometimes confused, and often funny dads about all the ways they've discovered to be good enough at this parenting gig. My guest today is someone who has been omnipresent on our TV screens for over 4 decades. In fact, he won a gold Logie last year, and let's be honest, at long last. Larry Emdur has hosted Family Double Dare, The Price is Right, The Wheel of Fortune, Weekend Sunrise, and has even appeared on Dancing with the Stars. And these days, you'll see him on Channel 7 quiz show The Chase Australia, and of course on The Morning Show, where I know Larry from appearing as a guest from time to time with Kylie. And it's kind of nice for me to be the one asking the questions today, Larry. He and his wife Sylvie have 2 adult kids, Jai, who's 30, and Tia, who's 25. So, Larry, welcome to The Good Enough Dad.
Lovely to see you. I'm a bit scared now. You've got your questions, you put your glasses on. I feel like I'm on the Spotlight show or something.
Here you are. It's going to happen.
Great to see you.
Okay, so let's start with, what are some of your favourite memories that might come to mind when you reflect on when Jai and Tia were little?
So lots. I mean, lots and lots of nice memories. I think generally speaking, our household was a pretty positive, happy place. And I remember when I grew up, we lived at Bondi Beach. And so we just had summers at the beach. And it wasn't fancy. I know when you say Bondi now, everyone goes, oh, but it wasn't fancy then. It was just very urbane and really community-minded. And it was lovely family and friends everywhere. And I think I tried to bring that into the kids' life, that it was just nice and laid back. So, I mean, the early stuff, even when Jai first started walking, I'll remember that, swimming in the pool, all those nice memories. And then
peeing in the pool.
Peeing in the pool, of course, that was me, not him. And then, just I think they're lovely, normal, traditional memories. And then when I look at that stuff and I go, well, I remember my dad pushing me around the swimming pool at North Bondi on an old surfboard. And then I did that with Jai. And I'd go fishing with Tia, and I remember my dad fishing with me. So I think I tried to... Well, I never set out to replicate my childhood with them, but I think it was just inherently how it happened.
Especially when it's a good one.
You're right.
Right. So I've got very adult kids, but I want to know from you, what's it like now they've grown up, and how often do you catch up with them and things like that?
Yeah, it's strange. It's really strange. It's beautiful and it's perfect and it's amazing. But I walked Tia down the aisle last year.
Yeah,
and it was
big.
It was just. I still get teary if I talk about it too much, to be honest. But it was like such an amazing moment in time it was like, as we were walking down the aisle, I could see all the faces that I remember that used to be young, and we used to be young together, and we were friends from school, and now we're parents of grown-up children. But there was a moment where I thought, this is all good. We've got to this bit.
Yeah, and I hear that was St Mary's Cathedral.
Yes.
Yeah. Here's an interesting coincidence. So my mum and dad got married in that one
right?
on the side altar, because he wasn't Catholic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
During the war.
Is that right?
Fell in love.
Yeah.
There you go. So I'm 50% New South Wales and 50% WA, because my mum was a Sydney girl and dad was a West Aussie.
Okay.
Okay, so
no sides for you though in the footy. No,
not much. They've got so many footy teams in my family. Okay, so how was it having 2 sisters? Because obviously you're male. So do you remember that being?
Yes, I do, and it had a huge impact on me. And I believe I didn't kind of work that out till a little bit later, when I realised when I realised how I treat women. I mean, I think that had a huge impact on me, and I'm stuck in the middle. Nikki and I are born in the same year.
Wow.
Yeah, so Nikki was born January the 9th, and I'm born on December the 9th, the same year.
Oh, that's pretty hard work.
Yeah.
That close together. Okay.
Yeah. We have
Your mum's a legend.
That's a nice way of putting it. I think we got home, and Mum said, I think the last thing the doctor said before I left hospital was, Faye, you're okay for now, you can't get pregnant. So anyway, here we are. And then Martine's my baby sister. And so I was sandwiched in between these two girls doing their physical culture and their, their fun stuff. And I was trying to break out and go surfing and be a bloke. But I realised as I got older, that was really high impact for me on how I would, for the rest of my life, respect women.
Oh, there's no question how handy that is because when you've actually been around, that in your family, when you meet, females later in life, you understand some of the quirky behaviours that girls tend to do a bit more than boys. And, sometimes they are, a lot of emotional vulnerability about little things that don't always bother a boy, but how quickly they move and fade away. So it's brilliant. Wasn't Sylvie lucky?
Wasn't she? I tell her every day, Maggie. Her? I don't believe she believes me, but you know what? When she hears it from you, she'll believe it. But when I say, Sylvie, you're so lucky, I don't think she believes it.
Yeah, no, you definitely. So my son's had kind of a part bloke mother. So we're all still working on it. Now, how was it? Did the kids like having a dad that was on TV? Was that a cool thing or not so cool?
It was cool for a time. No, it was, it was fun for a time. And then it became not so cool.
Not so cool.
No. And with a name like Emdur, because it's just us. There's my mum, there's one of my sisters, me, and our kids. There are no more Emdurs.
Yeah.
So when the name is instantly not instantly recognisable, but if you recognise their name, you recognise my name. So I think in later life, it's
in the teen years, was it a bit uncool?
Yeah, quite possibly. Yeah. Yes.
Cringing.
Yes is the answer. But when we were young, they were young, we're going to all the fun things, the Disney openings, VIP at Disneyland, where like all the good stuff was happening.
Yeah.
But certainly there was a time where Dad's doing, and I do stupid stuff on the morning show every day, as you know, right?
Which is why we
and now
watch it.
Now it's on the internet, now it's on Instagram, and there are plenty of times
and
I
so
think.
would it go through their feeds? No, even nowadays.
No, you know how
because
it comes.
How does it?
No, it doesn't. Well, I don't think it does, but their friends. Their friends will reach out and go, your dad just did this dumbest thing.
Yeah,
that's the feedback.
At least it's a consistency you've got.
Right.
Consistently dumb.
That's right.
Okay, so I know you talked about your own dad taking you to do lots of those things, but what do you think you might have learnt from him about being a dad?
He was away a lot. He was a travelling salesman essentially, and he was away a lot. And I think if I learnt anything, it was that don't be away a lot. Do you know what I mean? And when Jai was born, I was working in Melbourne. I was hosting The Price is Right. And every second week I'd go to Melbourne for 4 days. And Jai had quite a serious reflux issue when he was born. And so for the first 9 or 10 months of his life, he couldn't lay down beyond seated position.
Yep.
And so I would go to Melbourne for 4 days and do my show and have to be in the highest of spirits and the happiest guy in the world, and then come home to Sylvie, who hadn't slept for 4 days. The cup of tea that she made 3.5 days ago is still sitting on the kitchen table. It's been in the microwave 20 times, and she has, and
true.
But then that said, when I was home, I was home.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to work at 6 a.m, coming home at 10 o'clock at night like some of my mates.
Yeah.
I was so I was present when I was there. What I learned from my dad probably more than anything was to don't be travelling. He didn't have, it was his job.
Yeah,
it was his job. So I've been very grateful that most of my career has meant I could be at home. I can do the school pick when I'm home. Yeah. I'm doing the drop off and the pickup and all the good stuff.
So good, isn't it? Okay, so when he was around, what sort of a dad was he? Was he an old school dad, or was he one that kind of was comfortable at playing with you?
Yeah. No, I think he was. I remember him being a really good dad.
Yeah.
We had, as I said, we grew up at Bondi, so we were outdoorsy as a family. So we'd have an early dinner and then we'd go to the beach and have a swim because it was just down the road. Do you know what I mean? So I remember that. I remember fish and chips on the beach, and I remember us all swimming and having a great time together. And Dad had a little crappy old boat that we'd go on, and the girls didn't like it because it stunk of fish and petrol and stuff. So that was a lot of time with Dad. That was a lot of boy time with Dad, which I really appreciated, and I learned a lot from him then.
So good. Okay, so I'm pretty sure your kids have obviously travelled overseas a lot and things. So tell me, what is it like, those sorts of adventures? Because not everyone is able to take their kids on adventures overseas.
Yeah.
Tell me, what was it like travelling with them when they were younger, and then did it get better when they were older? Because it was sort of before screens could keep them quiet on
absolutely,
the phone.
and I'm so grateful for that. I guess we're going to talk about social media at some point, but I'm so grateful that we just scraped through. As you mentioned, Jai's 30, Tia's 25. So we there was social media around, but it wasn't what it is today, right? So we had some beautiful trips. We loved going to Bali. Jai and I'd go surfing, and Tia and Sylvie would do lots of fun stuff. So, but it did change, of course. As soon as the kids got to an age where they're like, okay, now we're in Bali, but we can go to a nightclub there. Or we can do something. We lived overseas for a while. We lived in LA for about a year, about 9 months when Jai was 3. So that was a great fun experience. And he oddly enough, he just remembers so much about that.
So were you near Malibu, near surf still, or were you in LA?
Yes,
Maine?
No. We were at Marina Del Rey, which is very close to along Santa Monica and Venice Beach. So that was a lovely time, and we were going there to live. I'd finished with Price is Right, and we were set up to go and live there and I was going to try and work there maybe. And then the week before we left, Sylvie found out she was pregnant with Tia. So we decided, of course, the baby was to be born back in Australia. But we had a great time, and lots of Disneyland, probably too much Vegas for a small child, but good fun.
Now, one of the hardest things it is for us all is when our kids want to leave home, although sometimes 2 of mine are roosters. I couldn't wait for it. But, that big moment when they do leave home, it's happened twice. Was one easier than the other, or was it hard?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because when Tia was 16, and she's always been fiercely independent, beautifully independent. Like, I look at her now and I listen at and I go, what you are, I don't know where this is coming from. You've been here before, but she's so independent and fierce about it. When she was 16 years old, she came to us. She said, Mum, Dad, I want to talk to you after dinner. We sat down. She said, when I'm 18, I'm moving out of the house. I was like, why would you do that? She goes, because I want to be independent. I want to get a job and pay rent. And we were in a relatively nice setup at home. She had a whole lot of space on her own. I said, are you sure? Because there's a fridge full of food and there's everything you need here and there's your swimming pool and your this and that. And she went, no, I want to be independent. And so, and we're on the clock. We're on the clock from 16 years old.
I love it. She's a rooster, so that's a rooster. Roosters have the temperament where bring it on. I'm ready to make my own way in the world. They're fiercely brave. They love challenges.
Yes.
And if you disagreed, it could have been quite difficult. But can you see once again? It's actually not all of our mine were in a big hurry too, and I was quite glad because they were quite argumentative.
Well, I didn't want. I mean, I don't think Sylvie did either. We didn't want our baby daughter to go. Why? I think I was like, why? Why would you? But she just had this thing, this mindset. And to her credit, she went out, she got 3 jobs. She paid rent. She got an apartment with a friend. And she went off on her independent merry way. And there's been, now she did come back for a short time. There was an area in the house.
Called it a boomerang.
Yes. But there was an area of the house that she could close the door and be independent from us. There was a bathroom in it. And she said, now I'm coming home, but don't call me out for dinner. Don't talk to me. It's like I'm not there. And we'd go to bed, Maggie. We'd go to bed at 10 o'clock at night. You'd hear the door squeak open, little footsteps, out to the fridge door would open. She'd go be like shopping at Woolworths and then creep back into the room. So it's fiercely independent, but still like the fridge.
And so what about Jai? Was he, as sometimes they kind of appreciate having things done for
Sure.
them. So what age was he when he flew the coop?
Jai went travelling. He was working overseas. He was travelling, then working around Croatia as a DJ, and he was working on boats. And so I knew from my time travelling, when I went backpacking, I came back and I was so independent. And I was like, Mum, please don't tell me what time I've got to get home. And please don't tell me to, not make the bed like that, because I've been travelling and I'm a big boy now. So I said to Sylvie, when he comes back from this, he's going to be you can't tell him how to dress and because it's going to be different. But he came back and he wanted to hang out. He was ready to stay with us a bit longer, eat the food.
Yeah, appreciated that. The fridge was full.
Yeah.
Okay, so, before the kids have grown up and flown the coop, what do you think was one of your biggest fears about raising them today?
Well, I'm sure I share that with every parent, just that they're not going to achieve their goals, not mine, not ours, but their goals. And then I have to think, I'm the most axed man on TV. And Maggie, I wear it as a badge of honour. It's okay now. I'm at peace with that, because I'm 60 years old. I've got 2 great jobs and I'm still here.
Yes.
But there are so many times this bridge could have broken along the way.
Yeah.
But I've always said to people, have a go. Have a go. But I know plenty of people in TV who have done a show, been axed, and we'll never hear from them again. So I guess I'm really, really lucky. Yeah. But from my kids' perspective, my message to them was always the same. Have a go, and it doesn't matter. Look at Dad. He's still here, and I don't mean that in a condescending way. No. It's just like you can try different things. You can hit brick walls. You can get hit in the head with a big wave and get back up again. Yay. So I consider myself very, very lucky that that's happened to me 20 times. But it's still a reasonable lesson. Jai and I share a tattoo here that says, "If not now, when?"
I love it.
And that's something very, Jai and I will say that to each other every week. Just face different challenges head on.
So that was one of the things my dad said to me as well, is, it's not whether you're going to win, it's do you turn up and have a go?
Yep.
And then do you get back up? That old brush the dust off stuff.
Yeah.
There's no question that, and isn't it interesting, you're probably heaps better at it now, and now you don't need to have it happen ever again. Look at you.
You never know in TV, right? So you're never the master of your own destiny in TV, and I could go in there tomorrow and they could go, we're changing things up. And that has been my life. But I think it's made me stronger, and it's given me a very good overview on things.
I think that TV game is exactly, media in itself is very, very unpredictable. But life is too.
Of course.
And it doesn't matter our age or whether we've got everything it looks like it. There's days we fail. And I'm wondering, did you encourage your kids to fail when they were younger? What sort of rule did you have for pass the parcel? Did you have the old ones or the new ones?
It was really try your best. It was that kind of concept, I think.
Yeah.
We were never we weren't pushy parents. We weren't dance mums and dads or anything like that. And we really did want them to find their own way and find their own strength and be proud of that. So they weren't overly competitive, either of them, I don't think. So, but they were both. They both became strong in their own ways, which is lovely to see as well.
Well, that's actually what real resilience is that we get strong within ourselves so that we can deal with the setbacks of life.
Right.
That we can adapt to them and overcome them,
yes.
Not be collapsed, as you said, at the foot of it all. Okay, so now, bring out the trumpet. I want to know, what's your big dad brag? What do you think has been one of your biggest parenting wins as a dad?
Well, I have 2 parenting wins. One's Tia and one's Jai. Look, I think, and I'd like to share this with every single dad, and I think it's like, we don't know. You don't know, right? Like, I love the name of this podcast because, and mums are the first-time mums particularly, and first-time dads, and you're like, what do I do? There's this
manual.
And this crying, pooing baby. And I know this is sort of old school talk, but and because, going back to when Jai was born, there didn't have the resources we have now. Didn't have podcasts like this. Didn't have information around. So I think the best results came from just being present, maybe, and then being open to ideas and listening to other people. Because I know some parents who are very set in their ways because their parents were parented like that and their parents were like that. So we were learning as we go. We had two very different parenting styles. I grew up in a very cruisy surfside family, pizzas and fish and chips and swimming and, that sort of thing. Everyone got on, and I know that's not everyone's story. I do know that, but I was very lucky to have a happy family upbringing. Sylvie, growing up in Poland, single mum, trying to do 3 jobs to keep Sylvie fed and at school. Very different scenario. So I think combined, it worked well.
Yeah.
Sylvie will call me a very soft dad.
Yeah.
Tia would go to Sylvie and say, I want a new pair of shoes. And Mum would go, no, you've just got a new pair of shoes. And then Tia would come to me and I'd go, okay. I was that guy. But it was a good combination in the end, and it somehow worked.
Yeah, no, and that's it. How do we make that work?
Yeah.
The co-parent part, really.
Yeah.
Nobody's history is the same. And we all think we're right.
Yes.
Don't we? And we all love being right. But really what happens and what the best ones are is that we work together to work through how do we make it work for our kids right now with us two dudes as the parents.
But there wasn't I don't think there was the information around.
No.
There was certainly no focus on dads.
No, none at all.
Certainly. And I think if you ask me my greatest achievement is I'd look at both of them and go, they're both here going great and they're beautiful human beings. And I think that's nice to see.
I think they've probably got a reasonable sense of humour, do they?
Yeah, they're pretty good. Yeah.
Because one of the things we know that lightens up homes is the sense of the ridiculous and the laughter.
Sure.
So my dad was that.
Yes.
Not only could he fart well, he just was funny as heck, right? And I think my sons have benefited from the fact that I am the idiot in the house.
Right.
And that there were times that I probably could have stepped up and growled at them for things, but I ended up laughing because it was so funny at the time.
Yeah.
So sometimes I think we have to be serious as parents.
Yes.
And there are times definitely we do.
Sure.
But I do think when we lighten up, we actually take a lot of pressure off our kids from being kids.
Yeah.
Because, let's be honest, they're messy. There are what I call situations, don't they, at times when they're younger.
Yeah.
We wish they slept more. We wish they didn't throw their food, and I wish they didn't have tantrums. And all of them are very developmentally quite normal.
Yes.
So if you don't laugh, then what do? Cry.
And completely opposite too. Yeah. Like anything that we tried to do with Jai was not the same as for Tia. So we thought we were learning along the way, and we thought baby number 2, Tia, this is good, we're parents now. Yeah. Completely different.
Totally. So that's not just gender, it's actually temperament.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're going to get. And of course, I do jokingly say this at seminars sometimes. I know you didn't quite get the one you were hoping for.
Yeah.
But, the one you've got is probably the one you really need, and we'll leave it there, don't we?
Now, I was really, I guess, looking at it now, just really grateful that we came through in a time where we could parent. There weren't too many there weren't things that we hadn't gone through as children ourselves, right? But now when you look at the people trying to deal with the internet and Instagram and TikTok and what that means and porn and all those sort of, we didn't have those challenges in parenting. So I'm just because when you can deal with something that you've experienced as a child yourself, when it comes to parenting, I suppose that's easier.
Oh, it's incredibly difficult.
But now
and it's a moving feast.
Right.
And that's what, so many parents, pull their hair out because they don't actually know what their kids are being exposed to.
Yes.
Because you would have to be watching as they doom scroll and see what's on there. And I think you would be horrified, as we are now finding, how different those algorithms are for girls and boys.
Yeah.
And that so many of our kids are now struggling with their sense of self.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we do segments on the morning show all the time, every other day on this topic. And I sit there the whole time and I'm just so grateful that we're not in this space now.
One day there'll be grandkids.
Right.
Yes. That's where my worries
are
at the moment.
Yeah.
Okay, so if there was just the one thing, you can only choose one thing that you want your 2 kids to have learnt because you are their dad, what is the one thing?
This is easy for me. It's so easy for me because it's what my dad used to say. Just be nice to everyone. Be nice to, and it's so simple and it's so free and it's so easy, and you can do it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's nothing. And I've done it all. I've tried to do it all of my career, certainly.
It shows.
And I've really tried. I've worked. I did, I was going to say I worked harder. I didn't have to work harder. It's a thing. It's who I am, and it's who my kids are, and I love that about them. They're a little feistier than I was, but that serves them well, right? But it's be nice to everyone. And my dad was a salesman, and there is no part or very few parts of the sales process that happens if you're not a good human being, or that's where the sales process breaks. Yeah. So it was just be a good human being.
Yeah, and then he modelled it as well as told you, didn't he?
Yes.
See, my dad was an amazing humanitarian.
Yeah, right.
And I watched him just treat everyone exactly the same with respect and affection. And aren't we lucky?
I feel lucky.
Yeah. Okay, so this is your lucky last question. So I feel like I've got the quiz show going on here.
Yes.
Are you ready?
All right.
Okay, so if you could wind back the clock to before you actually had your kids, before you became a dad, especially with one with reflux, what advice would you give to young Larry, the dad, to be?
Apart from wear a condom, I would know. Gosh, I don't know. Oh, well, that's a great question.
Yeah. How old would you have been?
So I was 30.
Yep. At least you have a prefrontal. That's a good thing.
Yeah, that's right.
27 to 28, so that's
great.
Yeah,
it'd come in, yeah. So, I really don't know. I may have listened. I would have gone maybe listen to podcasts or read books or thought more about it, because it was a bit of a surprise for us. I don't think Sylvie was necessarily had that on her plans for that year, and I didn't. So it all happened very quickly, and like all of a sudden we're parents. So maybe I would have gone, and maybe it wouldn't have worked for me, but to find out more about it.
Yeah.
Read some books.
Which is really wonderful, because that's one of the things over the years when I first started running seminars. It's a long time ago, 25 years or something. No dad was there. And now I can have up to 40% dads willingly turning up, because they don't all want to read parent books. I mean, there are many that do, but there are many that just don't. So they prefer to hear it in a verbal context, which is kind of another reason why we do this, because sometimes they can listen to this while they do something else.
Sure.
But if there was one thing you wish you had known, with a manual,
what would that have been? It was probably to be, if I could have gone, be a better dad. Do you know what I mean? If I could have gone, will I be sitting in 30 years' time doing a podcast called The Good Enough Dad or A Good Dad?
Yeah.
Would I prefer to be a good dad? But then I don't know how I would have done anything differently, apart from maybe not working interstate. But you know what? It's my work that's kept us afloat. I have to go. I've had to travel for work, not as much as my dad, but in that first year, could I have been there more for Sylvie and for Jai? But that was my life, and I was working. So I don't know how to really.
No.
I've thought that through. Many times I'd come home and I'd see Sylvie just sitting on the floor crying and heartbroken. But there's nothing much I can do apart from leaving work. And then if I leave work, that's a whole new set of problems.
Yeah, whole new set of problems.
Yeah.
Larry, thank you. Thanks for coming for a chat. And it's been great for me to be the one that asked you questions.
Yes, you're a very good question-asking person.
I'll have your job next, eh?
Yeah, lovely to see you.
TV host Larry Emdur, amongst everything he said, and isn't he a funny guy, there are still some really fantastic points I think we should throw into our Good Enough Dad checklist. The first one is that every one of our kids turns up different and unique, and that our job is to support them to become whoever they are and follow their dreams, not necessarily our dreams. And secondly, the best results come from being fully present and also learning from others and other people's experiences. And the third one wasn't a magic, simple message that his dad had given him that he's now given his kids. Just be nice. I'm sure there's someone else who's other ways of saying don't be a whatever, but really just be nice. I'm Maggie Dent, and this is The Good Enough Dad. It's one of my favourite podcasts. Please subscribe and go and wherever you get your podcasts, download it and please rate it, because then It looks better and more people find it.